ASMR Money Mentor. Tonight we're going to be talking about investing for beginners. So if you're new to investing, stay tuned and watch to the end because we're going to be talking about a simple portfolio blueprint. I know many of you are new to my channel, so thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the over 100 people that have subscribed to my channel in the past several weeks. So this episode is for you. Again, we're going to be talking in a calm environment about investing for beginners. I know lots of you like ASMR. You like tapping. You like scribbles. All sorts of different sounds that make you relax. So I will be incorporating some of those in tonight's episode. So, number one is going to be, why does the stock market feel scary for new people? I want to explore that just a little bit and take you back into my past, where I also felt like the stock market was a very scary place. I started investing back in 2005. 2006 was really when I gained traction by putting money into my 401k and my Roth IRA, because those again are the vehicles in which you put your money into from an investing perspective. And it felt scary. It really did, especially when 2 years later the market went down with the Great Recession. And it just so happened that because of the Great Recession and the stock market going down, that was really good for me. And it will be good for you as well, which we're going to be talking about this week. So in the future, if there's ever a downturn in the market, that is good for people when they're investing, which I'll explain a little bit later. But you know, the stock market does not have to be a scary place. Like, I have a note right here that we are currently near the all-time high of the S&P 500. The S&P 500, as you may know, are 500 of the largest companies that represent kind of like a benchmark of the stock market, because it has lots of different companies within it. And currently, as I'm recording this, we are at about 6915 for the S&P 500. The all-time high is 6986. So we're very close to being the all-time high of the stock market. And that's why you hear people saying that stocks are overvalued, because we're way up there. And that's good. For those of you that have been investing for a little while, you have probably seen your investments go up, which is great. But people get scared because they think, they could lose their money. But let's talk a little bit about what investing is. When you invest into, let's say, a mutual fund, you are owning shares, right? You purchase them, and then you can look at your balance. You can see what the unrealized gain is. You can see how much you've contributed. You can see dividends that are reinvested into those mutual funds. And you can see how many shares you own. When those shares go up in value, your balance goes up in value. You don't lose money unless you sell some of the shares. That's what new people really need to understand, is that you're putting your money in, let's say, every month. That's called dollar cost averaging into the market. You're putting money in, you're averaging out over time. Oh, I put in $200. I bought this number of shares. The shares go up in value. Then you put in money and you buy fewer shares because it went up in value, and you put in the same dollar amount. If they go down, you buy more shares with the same amount of money. So So it's not gambling, right? We're not picking individual stocks per se. You're putting money into a mutual fund that has many stocks within it. So look at it that way. Every time you purchase money or you spend money into your 401k or your Roth or whatever vehicle you have, you're becoming an owner of those mutual funds. So I also want to pause for a minute and just go back to the fact that we're at an all-time high within the S&P 500. I like to refer to companies like Goldman Sachs, for example, who give predictions about economic development within the world, and they're saying that the global economy is going to increase approximately 2.8% in the year 2026. They're also saying that the S&P 500 will probably return 12%. Global stocks alone will be about 11%. So when you hear companies give predictions, like right now in the beginning of the year, about 12 months into the future, that should motivate you to know that every time you're putting money into the market, if it's going to go up 12%, that you're buying shares within that year that are going to be so much more money in the future as long as it doesn't go down. Does that make sense? So, because of that, people then begin to trust the market, but they still think the stock market is scary. But just know that investing is not a gamble. You're actually owning shares that will get more value over time. Now, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, however, we could go into what's called a bear market. We're in a bull market right now. A bull market means it's continuing to go up. Believe it or not, as long as you keep your job, you have income. If we go down, let's say in the future, let's say the S&P 500 goes down significantly, that's known as a bear market. The value of your shares go down, but guess what? You're still putting money in, right? So you're buying shares, like I said a minute ago, when they're priced low. That's good. You're collecting more shares that will eventually go back up. So believe it or not, for young people, if you're new to investing, we should probably hope for a bear market in the future if you're still building your wealth. Maybe it's going to happen in 2030, maybe 2032. You may see your value go down for a little while. That's okay. You don't need the money. And that's when people start doing really great things in the stock market, because they're buying, like I said, more shares when the market is down, and you can ride the wave up, kind of like I did after the Great Recession. So again, for those of you that are beginners to investing, that is something to always remember. I also wanted to touch on tonight that a simple portfolio, in my opinion, is really the way to go. I like to use the acronym KISS, or Keep It Simple, Saver. Okay? I would encourage all of you to keep things super simple, which I'll talk about here in just a moment. You're going to have fewer decisions, less stress, because again, you're going to put money into low-cost index funds that ride the market of, let's say, the S&P 500. You're not going to pick individual stocks, right? Some people believe that you should pick individual stocks, but I think that's very risky. I never did that in my entire career of building wealth. I'm not a stock picker. I just put it into mutual funds, and I live my life. So always remember, a simple portfolio wins long term, and it's best to keep it simple, saver. Now, I also want to talk briefly about a 3-fund portfolio from kind of like a big picture perspective. the stock market, or within investing in general, we typically have U.S. stocks, international stocks, and bonds. So for those of you that have a 401k and you're investing into your 401k, you probably talked with the custodian of your 401k. Maybe it's Lincoln Financial, maybe it's other companies, Fidelity, etc. And you may have access to a person that you can talk to, and you can talk about what is your risk profile. That means some of you might be really comfortable with taking a lot of risk while you're young. So you might be putting most of your money into the stocks, U.S. stocks and international stocks, for example, and less money into bonds. Bonds are known as income-producing assets for spending later, and it keeps your portfolio balanced, as they say, in terms of what's known as an allocation. Some of you, however, may not want to take a lot of risk, so maybe you have more money into bonds and you're putting more money into the bonds as you go forward. So whatever your risk profile, that's a decision for you, and whatever decision you decide is perfectly fine. Everybody's different. But most of you probably have money again in U.S. stocks, international stocks, and bonds. And one thing to keep in mind when you're putting your money into mutual funds is that there's what's called an expense ratio. An expense ratio is built within the mutual fund itself. You don't even see it. It's expressed as a percent. So it might be something like 0.03 or 0.003 or 0.001. And that means what percent are they taking out of the mutual fund for you owning that fund? Some managed funds are a little bit more expensive because they have fund managers behind the scenes moving things around. Index funds, however, are indexed to, let's say, the S&P 500, and so they're cheaper for you to own, and they necessarily do not underperform a managed fund per se, and in fact, many people believe they overperform or they do just about the same. So be thinking about not only the mutual funds you're putting your money into in terms of stocks, bonds, U.S. stocks, international stocks, and bonds, but be thinking about, going into your Roth IRA or your 401k or wherever you're investing and look at the expense ratio. Just Google the ticker symbol and it will tell you what that expense ratio is. And I believe, like many people believe, that a low expense ratio is the way to go because it's cheaper to own over time, and they don't take obviously as much money out of it for you to own it. So be cognizant of that as well as you begin to learn more about investing. And you know what? Boring investing often works better than exciting investing. I know there's lots of things out on YouTube where people are trying to encourage people to put money into risky investments, but I'm here to share with you that people like me that have built wealth slowly over a 15-year increment is, in my opinion, the way to go, because you're not going to lose as much potentially. You're going to just take it slower, and a lot of times going slow is definitely the secret to success. And there's many people out there that are 60 years old that get to this age that have amassed $1, $2, $3 million basically by just following a lot of these principles that I'm talking about in tonight's episode. Now, young investors also benefit most from time rather than talent. Believe it or not, I am not super smart. Even when it comes to money, to be quite honest, I just followed a blueprint. I chose a simple path that is simple, but it's not typical. Most people don't do what I did. It's long, it's boring, it takes time. But again, it doesn't take a lot of talent. I didn't go out there and investigate all of these different mutual funds. I just chose low-cost index funds that are broad-based, that have very good stocks and bonds within the funds themselves. And you know, a common fear for beginners especially is losing money. You know, to anchor back to the first thing I talked about, is people think they're going to lose money. They think, you know, I'm starting late. In fact, one of my subscribers in New York City had a comment a couple weeks ago. He or she said something like, am I too late? Is it too late to start investing at 35 or 40 or whatever age this person was? And I wrote back and I said, no, it's never too late. I started at 40, so never think that you're late to the game, because as long as you get started, you're going to be so much ahead of the game. And this is one thing I want you to keep in mind as I think about closing tonight's episode. And that is, remember, as I mentioned a minute ago, we're in a bull market. Things are good. The stocks are valued very high right now. There's going to come a time in the future, I don't know when it's going to be, 2028, 2030, 2032, 2033. At some point, the market is going to go down substantially. And based on your asset allocation, you may lose a lot of money on paper. So let's say you have $600,000 in your portfolio. Maybe it goes to $400,000. You still own the shares. That's known as an unrealized loss. It's unrealized because it only went down because the market went down, but you still own the same number of shares. That's why they say don't freak out and sell everything, right? Because it's going to go back up. Maybe it takes a year to come back up, maybe 2, maybe 3. But what are you going to be doing during those 3 years? You're going to be working. You're going to be living your life. You're going to have your budget. You're going to have income coming in. You're going to continue to invest. And that is the greatest time to invest, when the market is down. To anchor back to what I said earlier. So we should be hoping, many of us that are young and we're still building wealth, we should hope that the market does go down for a certain amount of time. That is where you get the biggest bang for your buck, and you begin to see those balances over time go up. And then when you get to my age, you might level things out and perhaps have more bonds in your portfolio, so that if the market does go down, you might not lose as much. So wrapping up tonight's episode, what's in it for you? Pat yourself on the back if you're a beginner to investing. You're soaking up knowledge from other people. You're learning about the basics of what it means to be an investor. If you're 32 years old, if you're 40, you might be waking up to this whole idea of personal finance. Or you might be like 40 or 45 like I was when I started. But just remember, when you're investing, you're owning the shares. I want you to also keep it simple, saver. But keep expenses in mind. Look at your expense ratios and make sure that you're not paying too much for the investments that you own. So with that, everybody, I think I'll go ahead and close out this episode. Give me a thumbs up if you like content like this. Thank you for subscribing. To those of you that have subscribed to my channel,